Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. Now, there wasn't a lot of racing on this weekend, so instead we're going to talk about the Formula 1 Bahrain test, which ended on Saturday, but I'm going to talk about it on Sunday. It was a very, very interesting one, which I don't know if you can normally say that about testing. I feel like you can't. But this year there was a lot going on. Obviously we've got new regulations, we're getting a lot of new words thrown at us. We've got to try and learn what porpoising is. I didn't bother, I'm not really that interested. Saw a couple of articles up explaining it and I was like, nah, leave it. Martin Brundle will tell me next week. That's fine. It's something to do with the cars going up and down. I don't know. Bad air make cargo swervy. That's all you need to know. And porpoising, I mean, are you strapping aquatic mammals to your car to make it go faster? Surely a bottlenose dolphin would be more aerodynamic, but I'm not an aerodynamicist. I'm not paid the big bucks. They're the experts. And all of that has left us with Mercedes in trouble. During testing, shock of shocks. We seem to do this every year where Mercedes don't quite look on the pace in testing, and then they turn up at the first Grand Prix of the year and they're about 15 seconds faster on every lap than everyone else. So it's hard to believe them. But they do actually look like they're in a bit of trouble this year. Now, given that we have a week to the first Grand Prix, if there's one team that could solve their problems in a week, it is Mercedes. They could turn up at Bahrain with everything sorted, the fastest car on the field, and win everything. I'm not necessarily sure that's going to happen. It looks like a big task. And they have radical side pods now. Which there was a big deal made about it, and then all of a sudden everyone was kind of just uninterested. They're just different. And obviously don't seem to work very well if there's a porpoise problem. I mean, as I said, we've been here before with Mercedes not doing great in testing, and you can accuse them of sandbagging, and people have been accusing them of mind games. I think Carlos Sainz actually came out and said they're playing mind games, which was interesting. You expect it from Christian Horner and Max Verstappen. So for Carlos Sainz to come out and say it, people are starting to catch on. Neither Lewis Hamilton or George Russell necessarily sounded that confident in the car either, so maybe we'll get a few races where Mercedes aren't in a position to win. But it's Mercedes, and they're up there somewhere, so it's impossible to tell until we get to next week. And if they have got a bad car, you know, we could do with a break from Mercedes winning everything anyway. I know they didn't win the Drivers' Championship last year, and I can't wait to hear about that so much from Lewis Hamilton's fans on Twitter, because it's been constant, and I'm really over it now. And I was hoping we'd go into 2022 controversy-free, as I've said before on this channel. That doesn't appear to be the case. But moving on to other teams. Red Bull, defending Drivers' Champions. They look quick. They have Adrian Newey, so regulation changes don't really seem to faze them as much as other teams. They tend to come up with something that just works out of the gate. And, you know, everything just seems to fall into place for them. Max Verstappen, fastest at the end of testing. Again, it's impossible to tell what the true pace of the car is, but they look like they're in a good place. Ferrari were probably the biggest surprises, because, let's face it, Ferrari haven't been a great team for a very long time. They haven't won the Constructors' title since 2008. They haven't won the Drivers' title since 2007. So maybe it's about time they came back around and started winning again. It looks possible. The car looked fast. It looked stable. It had a good balance. They're setting impressive times pretty much all weekend. And they have two great drivers. So, at the very least, I hope Ferrari can challenge for wins this year. Let's face it, Mercedes will be up there at the end of the year anyway, even if they do have problems. So, we could, at some point, have a three-way fight for wins. That's only good news for F1. McLaren had a tough test. Daniel Ricciardo coming down with COVID is not ideal, obviously. And, you know, it's going to put him at a disadvantage with these new cars. He has got some miles on it, but, I mean, more would be better. And given that the midfield looks really close, McLaren have kind of been the team on the rise over the last few years, so hopefully that progress isn't halted just because of a few issues here and there. The car looks okay and quick enough, so again they should be around there giving the top team some problems. Impossible to tell. Colton Herta being given some McLaren tests, that's only good news as well, because hopefully if Andretti do come, they'll be their own team and we'll get 22 cars on the grid. But Colton Herta getting some F1 experience now, that's perfect. Get him in that car in 2024 whenever they're planning to come on the grid. He's one of the most exciting young talents in motorsport at the moment. And IndyCar has a lot of great young talents, and it's really special that Colton Herta stands out. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on in 2022. Makes IndyCar entirely worth watching. Not that it isn't anyway, but the rise of Colton Herta will be a story foretold for years, because he is a really good driver and it would be great to see him in F1. As for all the other teams, I mean, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, all VAs, they all look pretty good. They all look pretty quick, so it's going to be impossible to tell the midfield, to predict the midfield, I mean, they all had sort of issues here and there, but they all look to be performing around the same level. That's only good for F1 because we want some battles in the midfield as well, not just at the top. And, I mean, they're impossible to pick apart, so that's going to be fun to do. Haas, biggest surprise, other than Ferrari, of course. They may even be a bigger surprise because they've had so many problems. Not all of them on the racetrack. And yet Kevin Magnussen just turns up and he's fastest straight away. And him and Mick Schumacher did some very impressive times towards the end of testing as well. Haas could pull off a masterstroke and have a really good car. And they need it. They need to take some of the shine off the political issues that's been hanging around them. I said Pietro Fittipaldi was definitely coming back to Formula 1 with Haas. They've gone for Kevin Magnussen, so I was wrong again. If I say anything, generally, just take it as wrong. I can't really say it was a bad choice because he's doing a really good job straight out the gate. I mean, I know it's only testing and the real test will be on the track on race day in Bahrain next week, but Kevin Magnussen isn't exactly inexperienced, and he hasn't been out of Formula 1 for so long that he's forgotten how to drive a Formula 1 car. And these cars are so different anyway that everyone's pretty much starting from scratch. So it's not a bad way to come back to the sport. Be interesting to see if he has a long career with Haas. It may just be this year. But it is pretty good to see Kevin Magnussen back. And to be performing well. So if Haas, again, if they can push themselves into that midfield, it's just more cars in the mix. Same goes for Williams. They were probably the weakest team on paper, but they weren't really that far off. So it's just going to be really tight. You can't tell who's going to be where. And that's really good to come out of testing and feel really positive about the Formula 1 season ahead. And there's plenty of opportunity for battles and incidents and probably more controversy. I'm feeling positive about this. I mean, I complain about Formula 1 a lot, but I do enjoy watching it. And next week, it's going to be really nice having it back after its 3-month hibernation. Back at Bahrain, back at the start of the championship, to see what the cars are like and where everyone genuinely is. I think it's going to be a really exciting Grand Prix next week, which I don't often say about Bahrain. I'm not giving out any predictions here because my predictions video will be out next week, along with a livery review and probably other stuff as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Leave your comments down below. What did you think of testing? Where do you think everyone is? What are you excited for? I didn't watch Drive to Survive because frankly I couldn't care less. It looks like complete bollocks anyway, and I'm not that interested. So yeah, if you wanted my opinion on Drive to Survive, that was it. Sod it, don't care. Hopefully we'll see some more porpoises. That's always exciting. Maybe any kind of aquatic mammal. You don't want your car to blue whale, but if it's porpoising, that sounds just as violent, I suppose. I'm sure we're going to have lots of chats about aerodynamics next week at the Grand Prix. I can't wait for that. I mean, I don't know how much they'll talk about it, just in case they bore the general audience. But I'll be interested to hear Martin Brundle's opinion anyway. So yeah, thank you for watching and have a good one.